Hello, everyone. Do you hear me?
Yes, Peter. Hi.
Hi.
Here you are.
Great, finally. Elon Musk
Okay.
sometimes
I think
surprises
we
us
can.
with the new features of Twitter Spaces.
Exactly. Sometimes you don't know if it's going to work or not, but that's the beauty of a new function and also the bad side about it. But yeah, okay. I think we have everyone on the panel now, and we've also got a couple of people dialing in. So thanks everyone who's dialed in early and who can also. Who also was patient enough to hear our sound check. So let's get started. Again, welcome to everyone. We have another edition of our Roundtable Twitter Spaces, which is hosted by Morningstar Ventures. And today we're going to be talking about onboarding the next generation of gamers onto Web3. And the reason why is as a venture capital, we deploy our capital into projects with high growth potential and, of course, innovative ideas. And the gaming industry in general, and specifically that of Web3, is one that has shown immense growth in the recent years. So for this, we are, of course, heavily involved in the Web3 gaming industry. And as the space is growing, we thought it was only fitting to talk to three projects that are doing a really great deal to onboard the next generation of gamers onto Web3. So joining our panel today are three experts from the Web3 gaming space. We are talking to David Johansson, founder of Blocklords, Frank Cheng, CEO of Apeiron, and Oren Langberg, the head of marketing at MonkeyLeague. So before we get started with the round of introductions, if you haven't joined one of our sessions in the past, I am your co-host, Naini, and co-hosting with me is my colleague, Peter. And just some good housekeeping before we get started. So what we usually do is we'll talk with our guests for about 30 to 40 minutes, ask them questions, get a conversation going. And then towards the end of the session, we will have our live audience Q&A where you can either type your questions in the comment section, which is on the right-hand side if you're dialing in via mobile, or you can even request to speak and just ask your question directly to one, two, or all of our panelists. Right, so we're looking forward to your questions. If you have any questions during the session, please also feel free to put those in the comments and we will get to them at the end. Okay, so that was the quick introduction. Now we're just going to hand it over to our guests for today. So David, Frank, Oren, thank you again for being here. We really are looking forward to having yet another interesting Twitter Spaces with interesting founders and people in the Web3 space. So if you could please introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about how you got started in crypto, and also feel free to share a brief introduction about your projects. David, I see your name first, so why don't you start the round of introductions?
There we go. Alphabetical order for the win. Yeah, first off, thanks to you. Thanks to Morningstar Ventures. We're happy to be, of course, a portco of Morningstar and had the pleasure of meeting Danilo, your boss, who I hope is here, back when I was in Dubai a few months ago. But yeah, about me, I've been in entertainment for the last decade. I started my career in film, working in Hollywood for a few producers. Ended up in China kind of randomly, but that's where I shifted my career from film to gaming. Worked on a number of games, mostly on browser and on mobile. And I always loved strategy games. So strategy game I've always been a history nerd. I've always been a strategy game buff. And when I discovered crypto in 2017, I just fell in love with it. You know, the idea of decentralization, how Bitcoin was just so elegantly designed. As a game designer, I just had so much appreciation for how just Bitcoin was put together. It's just such a beautiful piece of tech and social engineering in many ways. And as I got deeper and deeper into crypto in 2017, I kind of went through the ICO craze. I really thought gaming and crypto is a perfect match. And in 2018, that's really when I got a small team together, and we knew, hey, we wanna combine games with crypto, and that's where the idea of Blocklords came from back in 2018. It was this idea that create a medieval world where users can be everything from a peasant to a powerful lord, farm for resources, fight for power, take over cities. And then if you got powerful enough to be a lord, you would earn taxes from other players who were farming or fighting in your lands. So that's when the idea for Blocklords started back in 2018. It's been a really long journey since then. We had a few different versions from 2018 to 2020, really focused on-chain game development. We started off really as on-chain purists. Then we realized there were a lot of infrastructure issues. That's why we founded Seascape in 2020, which was focused on solving a lot of these infrastructure issues. And back in 2022, we put together the new and improved MetaKing Studios that would essentially create the first AAA strategy game in the Web3 space, and that's Blocklords. And I invite you to come to our website and really join our community. And this is perfect timing because we're just about to launch our community first beta, which is going to be available for free to people who are in our Discord. So please, please, please join our Discord and come see what we've been building for the last few years.
Great. Looking forward to talking about that a little bit more. As you said, alphabetical order for the win. So Frank, we'll go with you next.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Frank. I'm the law keeper and co-founder of Apeiron and Funimagus. And a bit about myself is that I actually didn't start in the gaming industry before. I was a management consultant and a private equity investor much of my life. But been a very fervent and hardcore gamer all my life, playing very competitively in my high school and college years. Decided to enter the financial industries, much like many other college students back then. But, never gave up on my dream of pursuing a game development career and developing my own perfect game. That's why I started the game development company 7 years ago, trying to pursue my dream to revive God games with modern technology. Over the years, the scope and scale of the game, the dream, and concepts grew, and we were trying to find a new business model to fit the entire scope of Apeiron. And that's where we arrived to blockchain, finding the tokenized economies and ownership to be something very interesting and can actually size the entire dream of Apeiron. That's where I learned much more. Crypto actually is late though. We only came here around 2019. Was it 2019? 2020? Oh wait, that's 2020. And then we fully developed into the concepts and everything into a blockchain game in 2021. And but ever since I ventured into crypto, the people I met, the communities I've grown attached to, and the one I built for myself, something I absolutely fell in love with. So the game itself, Apeiron is quite a giant project. I think it's better I share the information over a tweet that I'm trying to share. Probably not.
Oh, you're breaking up a bit, Frank.
Well,
Yes.
about the game, I just shared a tweet regarding the end of our season 1 demo. You guys can still play it now. Feel free to take a look at the battle side of our equation, and I'll leave this floor to the next speaker. Yes. Yep.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks for the great introduction. Oren, last but definitely not least, tell us a little bit about yourself and MonkeyLeague.
How are you? First of all, thanks for having me. That's for sure. It was awesome hearing everybody speak as well. So first of all, for me, and my name's Oren, as you said, and I'm from MonkeyLeague, and I've worked professionally, at least in marketing and partnerships for over a decade. I've been a gamer all my life, not competitively, definitely spent my fair share inside the game, that's for sure. And I got into crypto actually only a couple of years ago. I mean, 2 years ago, my only wallet was Leather. Several months later, got into MonkeyLeague right from the beginning. Just as a gamer myself and a lover of new technologies and the potential of blockchain, like That coupled with the founders and the deep team at Uncaged Studios, it's been a roller coaster ever since. And yeah, we're I'm at MonkeyLeague. It's the first franchise release from Uncaged Studios, and a little bit about Uncaged. We began our journey with a really clear mission, right, and vision right from the beginning, essentially, right? So there's a deep team of Web2 gamers at Uncaged, people that pioneered free-to-play gaming at Playtika, over 100 years of combined experience developing, disrupting games. And we saw a massive gap for really high quality games out there, right? So fun first gaming is always been our kind of mantra, and MonkeyLeague is our first release there. So essentially what we're doing is building an ecosystem called the Federation of Fun. So this ecosystem is a series of game franchises that will be available for both Web2 and Web3. And perhaps we'll touch on it a little bit later, because hot topic Web2, Web3, and MonkeyLeague is that first franchise release. So essentially, each franchise will have interoperable NFT assets that you can use throughout MonkeyLeague soccer, basketball, baseball, and so on. And yeah, it's been a crazy, exciting ride ever since. We just launched the alpha to a relatively small number of people in the last month, and looking at a crazy year ahead.
Thanks for the great introductions. Really excited about our upcoming discussion. And I would like to start with a small icebreaker question. Guys, which Web3 game have you been most impressed by so far? Of course, excluding your own project, and why? Really, of course, really curious to hear about good games that we have in Web3. Who wants to take this one first?
Dead silence out there, Peter. Dead silence.
I mean, I'll start with maybe paying respect. Sorry, Oren. I'll just start by
go ahead, man.
Giving the most vanilla answer ever. But yeah, I'll pay respects to the OGs. And I was around at that time, so I'm old enough to remember. But yeah, what Axie Infinity did to move the space forward, I think can't be neglected. Obviously, there's always been feedback about how some things were handled, but at the end of the day, it took a lot of vision. It took a lot of courage to launch an NFT collection and make a game entirely around it. And I'd say it was the most functional game that came out around that time. And they were also pretty forward. Jiho was really forward with putting out the SLP token, followed by the XS token. So I will pay homage to the Axie Infinity warriors out there who paved the way for the entire industry, essentially.
I think that was pretty well said. I might have my beefs with Axie Infinity, but they definitely paved, opened the doors and brought a lot more eyeballs, right? And I think kind of what we've seen in the last year is the industry is maturing a lot more, right? The technologies are getting better, and more quality games are coming out and things like that. So. I think there's several good potentials out there. That's for sure.
Okay, cool. It's been almost, I guess, 3 years since Axie Infinity released, and we still appreciate it as one of the most greatest game in the Web3 industry so far. It's interesting to see.
Yeah, indeed, Peter, I agree with you. And also, I was actually expecting the three of you to have sneakily agreed in the background that you were each gonna name your own each gonna name each other's projects. But that's funny that you guys didn't do that.
I didn't think about that. Blocklords.
next time you're like, okay, I'm gonna talk to the other speakers.
Yeah,
get them
MonkeyLeague.
to talk about exactly.
Done.
Yeah, so let's dive right into the topic of today's roundtable. So as we said, we're talking about onboarding the next generation of gamers onto Web3, and the three of you are definitely part of that movement. And there's this quote that we hear a lot, which is this bridging the gap between Web2 and Web3 gaming, right? It's a phrase that we've heard a lot over the past months. And, you know, what is your opinion on that statement? And what we've also heard kind of like with that statement is that Web3 has a lot to learn from Web2. But just to turn the tables around a little bit, what do you think actually Web2 game developers can learn from crypto and NFT game developers? Oren, why don't you go first?
Sure. Definitely a lot to say about this. And, I agree. It's almost become kind of like buzzwordy, right? There's like a new buzz phrase every couple of months, but it's definitely one that rings true because, for up until now, there's just extremely harsh borders around crypto, right? There's a lot of barriers that prevent people from the outside from coming in, whether it's technology barriers or communication barriers and perception barriers. The last year hasn't helped too much, right? But I think we're all used to looking at things super zoomed in, but we're really relatively in the start of a massive kind of technology revolution, right? So it definitely will take some time. There's going to number one, need to be quality games. Like if you're a Web2 gamer, to go, it makes sense for you to go, right? Gaming actually serves as one of the biggest potential drivers and bridges for Web2 because there's billions of gamers and so many people spend money inside of games and can't take that value outside of those walled in gardens, right? So it's something that makes sense, but there's just almost a mental barrier and then also technology barrier, right? With wallets and connecting, KYC. First time I had to do KYC for Binance and they asked me for my license, I was like, get out of here, right? So, it's a bit, and then you have all the news. So number one, you need a quality game that Web2 gamers will actually play, right? That means high quality entertainment, look and feel, a quality fun first game mechanics. And it means industry-wide maturing and, having more, smooth technology to onboard people. And you start to see that actually more and more popping up, better ways to ease the transition and things like that. So I am optimistic for sure. And I think some of the things that we're doing is, we're essentially separated the core game from all the meta features, right? So you have the game that is being developed for Web2, right? In several months, anybody will be able to download the game for free. You will be able to compete in leagues and things like that, but you won't have ownership, right? You won't be able to climb and have higher status and take part in the Web3 economy, right? So you can create that smooth transition for a user within your own ecosystem if you're doing it right.
Frank, you were agreeing with Oren. What's your take?
Oh yeah, I think having a great and a fun game and mostly actually must be a complete game is actually essential to bridge the gap between Web3 and Web2. There's just no great and complete games out there right now. And the second thing is actually a focus away from the speculation and the earnings and just focus more on the game itself. That would be what ultimately can bridge Web2 and Web3 users. And as for what Web2 developers can learn from Web3, I think right now is probably the more community-driven incentives and marketing that Web3 is quite powerful in. That's what attracted me to Web3 most after I studied it. And also a better economy design for games because it's tokenized and that it can actually be traded in real life. There actually needs to be more care in terms of the supply and demand of different game resources, and not just bury it in some power creep in later expansions. Developers need to plan much ahead in terms of the economies. It will make and result in much more fun and interesting game economic and resource designs. And then finally, I think as for blockchain, I think there's a lot of blockchain technology that has yet to be truly utilized in terms of gaming, how gaming and ownership can create new gameplay mechanisms, and how the ownership and the tokenized economies can become a new and more sustainable business model, sort of like merging in-app purchases and games as a service as a model to create new and game franchise business models out there. And that's my 2 cents.
Great, David. What is your take on this?
Yeah, well, I think actually there is a lot Web2 companies can learn from Web3, and I think that's kind of been lost in the last couple of years, where everyone's like, oh, Web3 needs to do what every Web2 game has been doing for 10 years, and actually Web3 is exciting, and we can't forget why Web3 is exciting, and ownership's a huge part of it, and access to liquidity is a huge part of it, and community-driven content, right? These are all huge parts of what makes Web3 great, and what makes tokens and NFTs and even your reputation online, like soulbound tokens, valuable. So I think we've seen, like, a lot of botched launches when Web2 companies, I mean, Ubisoft's a good example, where they launch a series of NFTs, and then their own Web2 community hates it, and then the Web3 community doesn't get why they would buy something that doesn't have any resale value, right? So I think what we're seeing now is a lot of smart Web2 companies are really starting to study and work with the best Web3 projects, right? So I mean, using us as an example, I'm a bit biased, but we have, for example, Square Enix as investors, we have FunPlus as investors, we have Craftman as investors. So these are some of the top publishers and developers in Asia. And we've really approached it not as, oh, you just invest and then hope for the best. It's really like a partnership, and we're teaching them a lot about what we know about Web3, and they're teaching us a lot about what they know for Web3. And I think all of this is to say that now we call it Web3 and Web2. I think a few years down the line, I don't know if we'll have a Web4, if we'll skip it, but it'll be a Web5, where essentially everything is tokenized, right? Whether it's currencies and games are tokenized, whether it's your reputation online that's tokenized with soulbound tokens. Essentially, I think we're heading towards a movement where your entire digital experience is going to be ownable and liquid in some ways, and that'll create a lot of interesting products. So I think we all need to learn from each other. Web3 needs to learn from Web2, and Web2 needs to learn from Web3.
Totally agree with that point. And continuing conversation of mixing Web2 and Web3 advantages and models to deliver the best products. What do you think? Where do you see the play to earn model going? Because one of the best and probably most engaging features for users that Web3 world brought to games is play to earn model or play to own model. So where do you see these models going in upcoming future, considering all stress that was about these types of games and these types of models in the products? Frank, do you want to take this one?
Actually, I don't see play to earn or play to own as a business model. I see them more as a marketing jargon. I think in a mature crypto economy, how different users approach a game, it could be a play to own or play to earn, or just a free to play experience, depending on how they approach the ecosystem, and it's up to the game gameplay mechanisms and game economy designed to accommodate different types of users in the system. And And the way we approach this problem is that we offer different types of resources and gameplay mechanisms to filter different types of users, whether they want to come here to grind, to earn, to compete, to win, to earn. It's all actually doable. But of course, ultimately, in order to balance an economy, we think the major driver would probably be closer resembling that of a win to earn model, if that is that we must say and lock on the model. But I think my take on how the play to earn and these different types of earning movements need to go is that we probably need to focus a lot more on how much the fun the game can actually generate and move away from the earning mechanism, because right now, just sharing a bit of my knowledge with what I've learned in the space as we try to promote many types of campaigns, is that the main incentive for game and user attraction in Web3 games right now is still in monetary incentives. It's powerful as it is, though. It's still attracting more speculators than gamers, and trying to find the right balance of core users who actually are here for the game and for the ecosystem, and not here just to speculate and trade and make quick profits is essential for every game development project to build their core audience and core community. But well, I'm still learning. So we're trying to board a lot more different types of users around the world together with our partners. So my answers will constantly be shifting every time I'm asked this.
I would agree with Frank also. I mean, like when it comes down to it, it's all about sustainability, right? Games need to be fun first, and any game that's using an earning mechanism as the main way to acquire users is not going to be sustainable, especially in a play to earn aspect where just play and you'll earn, right? So I think it's going to shift more to just think about Web2. We were talking about before, like Web3 gaming should be building on top of the best of Web2 and just enhancing that experience with Web3 components, right? So if you think about people that compete in Web2 gaming, right, the best people are earning the most, right? And there's a totem pole essentially, and it shouldn't necessarily be any different in Web3 when you think about it. So it's going to be more of like a skill-based kind of achievement-based earning model. And with us, since we're building for both Web2, Web3, our economy, which will roll out in the next several weeks, and all the economic models and economies involved, it's going to be a combination between free-to-play and free-to-own also down the line, and skill-based kind of game economies. But it really, people can expect, and that's the problem, right? That the advancement was pushed because of this kind of bear market and things like that. It was pushed at a very fast pace, and that's kind of good overall for the industry in the long term. But at the same time, the overall Web3 community, like users and people that are inside with NFTs and gamers and investors and things like that, they're expecting the 100x now, right? Like the bull run peak and things like that. But what we need to understand is, this is a marathon. It's not a race. You know what I mean? So anybody kind of offering a play to earn model is probably not going to last too long.
Thank you, Frank, Oren, for the great thoughts on the business models and sustainability of the games. Totally agree with you, and I guess it would be the great advice for the builders who listening us and want to create their own products, what to pay attention for, and how to structure business models in their gaming ecosystem. And Oren, you a few times mentioned that games, and Frank and David, you all mentioned for sure the obvious statement that games should be fun and gamers should be engaged. But before game is released and while products is under development, how to better handle community. And for example, Oren, we understand that MonkeyLeague just launched the alpha for a relatively small number of people. How do you build and keep a community engaged during a bear market and game pre-launch? Really curious to hear your experience. Oren?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. I was talking to myself for a few seconds there. No, it's an interesting question because, you know, in Web3 also you have the added complication of kind of building transparently, right? Trying to be as transparent and show the progress and everything along the way. And for people in the game development industry or even tech software development industry, is that, you know, more or less roadmaps are within a certain range, living, breathing things, right? So, you know, sometimes you set certain things, games evolve, ideas evolve and change and things like that. So you have to be able to kind of maintain that and try to communicate as much as possible and provide, you know, utility as much as possible and engagement in the community events and things like that. So it's definitely bear market time for building, like every season, I would say, bull, bear, cheetah. But it's also a time to kind of harden your community as well as best as you can. And to deliver on what you say. That's the most important, right? Because you know, people are in your community are investing in you, right? They are not in the office with you every day. They don't see all the team members building and developing and designing and things like that. So at least us in marketing, it's our job to bridge that gap between the community as much as possible, even when things are not so rosy, you know? So it's just important to be transparent, communicate, keep them engaged, have events, have benefits and rewards and things like that.
And David, just going off of what Oren was saying and what you were mentioning earlier, is that you're currently also preparing for your first community beta for your Discord members. How's the sentiment been around your community? What's going on before the launch?
Correct. I agree with a lot of what Oren said, and that's the tricky part about game development, game design, game ideation, and the game development process is just extremely slow, extremely time consuming, and you have to be extremely deliberate about how you design your game and how you roll it out to the public. And so we've been giving the community a lot of information over the last year since the project was announced as the reboot. But also we've been careful because we know that as we develop the games, as the systems are developed and designed and tested, there always needs to be room for change. And we also have to be extremely careful about the economy as we're developing it. And so this is why, as we've kind of built, we've been feeling more and more confident about sharing it with the community, getting feedback from the community. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, but it's all about listening, showing what we have, showing what we want to be, what we want the game to be, and when it's ready to launch. And essentially now, after all this hard work, we're at a point where all the core systems are in place. A lot of the economy is developed. A lot of the blockchain features are developed. The account system, which is cross-chain and fully integrated with a number of partners, is all developed. And now we're finally at that amazing moment where we're going to be able to let the community play, let users import their NFTs into the game, try it out, earn their resources, see how the basic economy is going to work, see where the opportunities are going to be for savvy players. And this is really when the fun starts, because now we can take the community feedback and we can start implementing it at a rapid pace. And the community will be able to see right away, oh, they're actually listening. They're doing what we want. Or sometimes, you know, they're not doing what we want, but at least they're here and they're active and they're engaged, and we're playing the game that they're playing. So really that's the idea with community, is we want to have a relationship where we share information, but where we also have the freedom that we can develop the game that we really see. And that means we can't be short-sighted either. So it's really a give and take. Like, we love showing stuff to the community, but we also don't want to give false expectations. So we always show what we know is going to be in the game and the types of things that we would love to get their feedback on. And as the game gets ready and gets out there and people start experiencing it, we're going to be able to implement their feedback at a much faster pace.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what Oren said, right? It's a living and breathing process and roadmaps, and the community is always a great part to have, and to show the game and get them excited, because I guess it also gets you really excited as a founder as well. And also from a community perspective, Frank, you said at the beginning of your introduction that you kind of fell in love with this Web3 community, right? And that's also something as a gamer that you really appreciated. And Apeiron, you also just finished the Guilds War Season 1 tournament, right? So congratulations on that. And you were conducting a cross-community competition during that. So what insights did you gather from your community there? And have you seen any behavioral changes of Web3 gaming guilds and also DAOs in the past couple of months?
Yeah, would love to share that. We hosted a cross-community tournament, mirroring what Degenheim did, and it was quite fun actually. Over 80 communities joined. A lot of Degen came in and go, and the way we did it was well, we encouraged that different projects that we're not here to poach users or players from other communities, but being a game itself, it's actually up to us to provide more utility for different types of Web3 projects out there for their users, and we provide quite a friendly environment, and our rewards all go to their community instead of the actual users. Well, of course, they can also split it with their users, and it actually drives quite an interesting an engagement between different projects, and I've met many other founders and management in different teams, and the chat and talk and the engagement is very exciting. So yeah, that substantiates some of my presumptions that even though the Black Swan instance that happened last year did take away from a lot of the actual users, and gaming suffered quite immensely from that drop. But ultimately, the people who remained in the space in these gaming projects and many other projects are actually people who truly believe in the tech and the industry, and they're here to stay, and they're here to contribute with each other towards their own projects or to other projects, as long as there's a place for them to gather and unite, and a fun game for them to play together. As for the guilds themselves, I do stay in contact with a lot of them, and a lot of them, well, sadly, they've been waiting for the games to come out. A lot of people, including myself, actually expected a lot more blockchain games to be out in the past year or now, but sadly, the truth is, well, a lot of them still have yet to come out, and especially the good ones take time to develop. And they are most of them are actually moving on to a build phase or development phase, where they move away from the scholarship model and they try to focus more on expanding their platform to prepare to onboard more users, and some even move on to more publishing side businesses in local regions. But I think that's essential because they all of them are pretty well funded and quite well mobilized. And by turning themselves into quests or education or loyalty programs, they can actually make the users stick and try different ways to attract new users, and also market their portfolio companies and projects to users in their specific regions. And so, but ultimately, we do see a lot of them splitting their business models. One, to focus back on the guild and scholarship and rentals when they do come out, and the other part is on more. So I would always see the Web3 publishing side of the business, and how they continue to work with different games and projects. And that's what I am seeing around the space nowadays.
Thanks, Frank, for the great insights. And yeah, I totally agree that creating a fun and engaging product, working with the community, working with external communities such as guilds, are the keys for a successful gaming project. But another important factor that you briefly mentioned is distributing and publishing the project through various channels, which is of course very different for Web3 than Web2. And in your opinion, what needs to be improved when distributing a Web3 game? Do we need a Steam or App Store for Web3? And what would be the most convenient way of distributing games to players and crypto space? So I guess any of our fellow guests can take this question, because you're all in the alpha or beta version of your game, and distribution is a very hot topic for you at the moment.
Yeah, totally. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, David.
Go for it.
Take it, man. No, go for it, man.
All right. Yeah, I have some thoughts. I've been thinking about it a lot recently. It's definitely an interesting topic, and it's going to keep growing because we haven't seen yet, like pure Web3 distributors yet, or publishers, so to say, and that's coming for sure. And I think a lot of the Web2 publishers are looking at Web3 projects that they could potentially publish, right? And so what does publishing mean? Yeah, it's user acquisition, it's distribution, it's essentially handling live ops and user acquisition for games, right? And it's going to create some really interesting challenges when it comes to contract negotiation, right? Because publishers are usually usually a publisher's only focus is, user acquisition and monetization, right? And a publisher will do, some of the more active publishers in this space, like a Tencent or a Sega or companies like that, they'll be very focused on revenue, right? And that model is going to have a hard time translating into Web3, because obviously, yes, revenue is key, and definitely a lot of the new games coming are going to be focused on revenue, which of course we're going to be as well. But at the same time, the most important thing in a Web3 game is how do you drive value to the token, right? How do you drive value to the NFTs? How do you drive value to the users? And publishers are just not hardwired to do that. So I think we're definitely going to see an interesting phase in the next 2 to 3 years where these top games are coming out. Some of them are going to be self-published. Some of them are going to be working with the top Web2 publishers. Some of them are maybe going to start publishing on their own. And of course, we're going to have the distribution platforms, right? Everyone talks about the next Steam or the new Steam for Web3. Nobody's been able to beat Steam, and a lot of people have tried. And I have a really hard time seeing a Web3 competitor beating Steam. Mostly because the content just isn't there, and it's probably going to start getting to that point in the next few years, and that'll really be the opportunity of the century in gaming. If a project is able to drive millions of users based on the game itself alone, they'll be able to essentially corner the Web3 market and then get a lot of other games to essentially users to join a lot of other games. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on in the industry. Is anybody going to be able to take that spot and claim it, or is Steam going to realize in 2 to 3 years that, we need to actually support Web3 and just entirely take over the market in a couple of months? Just some thoughts from my end.
I actually couldn't agree more with that. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of companies or whatever that will try, like maybe from within Web3, but like eventually it's going to get to a point that as soon as one of these kind of monsters from Web2 see that there's traction, that there's the potential there, and DAO, then they'll definitely build it out to kind of take over, right? So. And that will be a huge, needle mover, right, for onboarding Web2 to Web3. That's for sure. And yeah, it's pretty on point there. But I think what's a big difference between Web2 and Web3 is that, unless you're a Supercell or something like that, that you already have a solid base and kind of games and several other companies and things like that. In Web3, you're really building this community and this quote unquote wait list of people to play the game, and then from day one essentially you have a certain number of daily active users already, right? Performance marketing will be a key channel, just like it is in Web2. I foresee. It's going to be a combination of different channels, but definitely in the end, when there's enough traction within Web3, these big guys from Web2 will definitely bridge that gap.
Frank, anything from your side?
Really gonna say nothing to add here, my honor. Your honor.
Okay.
Well, I still agree that Steam, Google Play, App Store will still be the main channels out there in the first year, but 1 to 3 years. There can be different launchers on Web3 that try. There can be the wild possibility that's that how Steam started was that they had Half-Life and Counter-Strike. Is there going to be a strong fundamental game, as both David and Oren said, that can anchor and rally the people towards this launcher? We're yet to see, and hopefully there will be one or multiple. But eventually, I think it's just the games need to come out first before anything speculation or an insight of the platform can be had. And but yeah, well, if you look at Steam, actually, I still see Steam publishing some Web3 games actually, so that's something interesting to explore. I think there's ways and venues with which Web3 developers can circumvent the censorship. So yeah, well, always keen to take a look at how these evolve.
Great. Yeah, we're also looking forward to see where this is going to evolve and what we're going to see in the next couple of years. I mean, one thing that we've obviously been hearing a lot from everyone that's in the crypto space is that it's still very young and there's still a lot to see. Someone in the comments actually had a pretty funny, pretty funny comment. They said Web 2 plus Web 3 equals Web 5. So let's see when that happens. But we do think that there's definitely room to grow, and we are obviously looking forward to all of your project developments and where it's going to go. And we couldn't agree more that the fun is really what is going to make the games stand out and really thrive in this highly competitive environment. So thanks again for all of your insights, for answering all of our questions, for gauging such an interesting conversation with us. We do want to open up the floor to our audience. We don't seem to have that many questions in the chat. So please feel free to ask. Now is the time. If you also have a question and you would like to ask our guests via speaking, please go ahead and request to be a speaker. We have some time, so don't be shy. Now is your chance to ask any question that you would like to all of our guests, or just one of them. And while we wait for a question to come in, not to make it an awkward silence or anything, maybe we'll just go with one more question from our side, if you don't mind. So we talked a little bit more about, onboarding users onto Web3, but do you think that there's maybe another vertical that will highly contribute to this growth apart from just the gaming vertical?
I mean, I lived through DeFi summer 2020, and I'd say that's probably been one of the more interesting phases in crypto for me. The innovation that comes from decentralized finance and what can be done with smart contracts. A lot of people are discounting it. So it didn't really revive after the first DeFi summer when kind of the meme coins and play to earn came alive in 2021. I think people are discounting DeFi way too much, and we're about to see something pretty big next year. I think that it's always going to be exactly like DeFi summer. It's going to be some simple smart contract thing that nobody thought about, and that's going to become a 5-10 billion TVL over a month or something. I'm sure of it. So I definitely don't think we should discount DeFi and the potential it has on this industry.
I agree. I think it has a lot of potential as well. And we were talking yesterday to some DeFi founders from the eGold, from the Multiverse X ecosystem. And it also was really great to hear what they're building in that space. Oren, Frank, do you have any other opinions on verticals that could potentially drive Web3 adoption apart from gaming? Frank, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if that's a vertical, but I'm pretty sure AI will be a key factor on disruptor and the entire world and blockchain, including one of them. We're exploring different ways to incorporate blockchain both into our gameplay and into our incorporating AI into both our gameplay and our blockchain functions. And the discovery process is actually extremely fun, in that we could actually incorporate ChatGPT with our NFTs, and we could incorporate Stable Diffusion, the artwork creation with training different types of models to recognize our IP and brand our assets, not just to create more artwork for different purposes in game, out game, and marketing, but actually training a model to recognize the franchise, the IP opens up the door and hastens the development of actually interoperability in our eyes, where metaverses and different brands and IPs can cross pollinate into different art styles and into different crossovers with the help of AI and programming and development actually can also AI can also help take over many simple aspects of these things, and though I'm not sure what type of vertical will emerge from AI eventually, or what types of verticals or horizontals will actually be taken over. I strongly believe that AI is here to better the developments of not just blockchain but the entire world, unless the Terminator or Matrix Canyon becomes true or something. Yeah.
Frank, it's really great that you actually brought up AI, because we have two people in the comments that had actually put a question in for AI, which was, what do you guys think AI development can bring to Web3 gaming? And also, with the rapid rise of AI powered, what effect do you see this having on NFT gaming? So maybe we can continue a little bit in the last few minutes that we have the topic of AI and Web3 gaming. Oren, David, do you have anything to add on what Frank was already saying?
No, I think look, it's definitely definitely been big, especially in the last few months, right? AI will definitely have a big impact on many industries. I'm sure blockchain will be one of them in certain ways for sure. And going back to earlier, I think the two biggest industries, DeFi and gaming, probably have the closest connections as of now. I'm sure more and more industries, maybe even real estate, could be a potential kind of industry to leverage blockchain. I mean, I feel like sky's the limit in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, my view is obviously the benefits of AI are going to keep growing, especially in game development, where we're really at the cusp of something pretty incredible. Where, I mean, now you can start incorporating ChatGPT into NPCs. You can write, we already started using it for for quite a lot of our content in game. Midjourney is epic for creating anything that's concept art I mean, it's sad because it does take away jobs, but at the same time, it allows us to create higher quality games with fewer people. That said, I think the negatives of that are going to impact crypto pretty heavily. I think Auto GPT is pretty close to people being able to just automate the entire token listing process at this point, right? So where you can literally tell ChatGPT, you have to circumvent some things, but you can tell it, hey, code an ERC20 token, hey, code an NFT, hey, use Midjourney to create an NFT collection, and get inspired by random fruit, right? So I think we're getting to the point where AI tokens, and by that I don't mean AI projects, but like literally tokens that were created by an AI that are going to be replicated on a daily basis. I think we're not too far away from that. And there was always already way too much content in the NFT and token space, especially low quality content. So I think we're heading towards that, and it's going to get a bit overwhelming and a bit intense. At the same time, that is going to create opportunities for the real projects, right? Like the real game, the real protocols, the real quality curators, the publishing platforms. as long as those improve their standards, improve their customer service, improve their security, we'll be able to really take the industry to the next step where people don't have to worry every time that everything's a scam, and it'll be very, very easy to see, okay, this is a scam, this is not a scam, this is a scam, this is not a scam. So I think that's the negative part of AI, is we're going to really see a lot of bad content in these next few years, and it's going to be really hard to tell for novice users which is which.
Yeah,
Wonderful answer.
Go ahead, Frank.
I just want to say David gave a really wonderful answer.
Yes, you did. I agree with you there. All three of you guys did, but it's very true. I mean, the rapid growth of AI does have a lot of potential tied to it. And there was another talk that I was listening to that actually blockchain technology will essentially counterbalance some of the challenging bits and scary bits that AI brings with it. So I think at one point they are somewhat complementary, but it will be very interesting to see what the gaming industry will do with this new technology that's rising. We're pretty much almost at the end of our session, and it's been really, like I've said, great talking to you. Before we end and before we say goodbye, just wanted to give you guys this opportunity to let the listeners here know, where can we find you? What's the best place to start to join your community if someone isn't already part of your community, and if there are any potential alphas that we could look out for?
Yeah, I mean, blocklords.com, register an account, go to the Blocklords Discord. That's really the best spot to be. If you want to play the game, if you want to get your hands on a free hero, yeah, Discord's the place. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of memes. There's a lot of stuff. I'm going to be hosting a very exclusive AMA on our Discord next week as we kick off the community beta. And yeah, please find us there and on Twitter.
MonkeyLeague, you can find us on Twitter, on Discord, Telegram as well. We're pretty active in our Discord. We kind of run most events and community stuff in there. It's pretty exciting times, actually. We just launched our alpha to a relatively small number of people at the beginning of April. We're about to have a nice update to that around mid to end May, around that time, and major kind of more robust game releases each quarter, right? And a few kind of surprise announcements along the way. So definitely a big year ahead, year of the monkey. Not the tiger. I think that's what it really is. But yeah, definitely come check us out. Join our community. Super warm, fun. Take the monkey challenge.
Take the monkey challenge. Frank, what about you?
Well, first I really want to thank Morningstar for having me. I forgot to thank you guys at the beginning. And I don't just want to thank you guys for having me here in this Twitter space, but I also want to thank you guys for helping us along the way. I actually met Morningstar early last year. Danilo has been nothing but very helpful, introducing me to his team, being our advisor, and also meeting Peter, Boris, and the rest of the team, who have been really, really one of the most helpful partners I've seen in this space. Very practical and very efficient, very well connected. And got to thank you guys properly here. As for Apeiron, well, we'll invite you all to please play our Season 1 Battle Beta. It's out. You can connect to the marketplace, just register an email, and you can download it and play it. If you manage to complete it, it's actually quite hard to complete. We've made it quite statistically hard. But there are many guides online that you can take a look at, or you can jump to our Discord to get some help. And that's really much like Blocklords. It's a really good place to start. Discord community is filled with dudes who are just here for fun and games, and they can teach you how to complete the Season 1 demo in record time and get the enormous reward to prepare yourself for Season 2, which is coming in almost a month's time. And we will have sort of a free and skill mint based game and season over there. We just launched a Medium article on Twitter as well. You can feel free to take a look. It's quite a large piece, but we're very excited for what we've been building, and we're always welcome for new players to give us feedback on what they think and help us improve. Well, and that's pretty much it. Thank you, guys.
That's it. Yeah, that was the full hour. It like flew by. But thanks again for coming. And Frank, thank you so much for your kind words. We'll pass it on to the rest of the team. And Peter obviously heard it here himself. And Oren and David, thank you also for joining. We really appreciate your time and your expertise, and taking this topic to a whole new level. So please, feel free to dial into another Twitter Spaces that we have. We host Twitter Spaces and podcasts basically on a weekly basis from the Morningstar Ventures account, with various thought leaders in the space, influencers. We had one with the Multiverse X CEO and co-founder last week with Benjamin Minku. If you haven't listened to that, it's also great. And thank you again for everyone who dialed in, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys. Bye-bye.